In today's world, our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are constantly shaped by forces we rarely see. How much of what we believe is truly our own choice? I felt compelled to write this article in light of this age of brain awareness, particularly with the launch of initiatives such as the Decade of the Brain, declared by George H.W. Bush in the 1990s, followed by the Decade of the Mind, a proposed initiative by the U.S. Army Research Office, the National Institutes of Health, and the National Science Foundation, intended as a continuation of that earlier vision. In 2013, Barack Obama launched the BRAIN Initiative, Brain Research Through Advancing Innovative Neurotechnologies, a federally funded program that continues to this day. While such research offers life-enhancing potential, these deeper explorations also reveal new insights into the fragility and power of the human mind, brain, and will. The fact remains that in every era, power has found its most reliable access point not through force alone, but through the minds and emotions of people. Today, we call this science neuropolitics, the strategic use of psychological and neurological mechanisms to shape public perception and behavior. It is not merely the art of persuasion, it is the subtle rewiring of human cognition. The battlefield is no longer the physical world. It is the human nervous system. Modern political influence is not satisfied with changing opinions. It seeks to sculpt the neural landscape that forms them. When exposed to political messaging, the brain lights up, not in regions of logic, but in those of emotion and belonging. Functional MRI studies have shown that the amygdala, anterior cingulate cortex, and prefrontal cortex all engage when processing political information. Once emotional associations attach to a leader or ideology, they become neurobiologically embedded within our sense of identity. This is evident today and largely driven by the far-reaching platform of media. This explains why facts often fail to change minds, because political identity is not merely a thought pattern, but a neurological pattern, strengthened every time it's emotionally charged. The fact is that humans seek order and security, the sameness of things, the known. The mind then finds comfort in collective belief, so the tribe, whether real or symbolic, becomes a psychological and neural sanctuary that shields the individual from uncertainty. In such a state, rational thought bends to our emotions, and our primal instincts take over. People's ability to differentiate between rational thought and projected narratives is overrun by the limbic system, and emotions become the architecture of belief. Every generation has its slogans and scapegoats, but in the age of mass media, repetition has become an instrument of neurological conditioning. The brain confuses familiarity with truth, a phenomenon known as the illusory truth effect. This behavior interrupts critical thinking. Repetition lowers resistance. The more we hear something, true or not, the more believable it feels, as synaptic firing patterns become reinforced. When a narrative is repeated relentlessly, like labeling a political figure as dangerous, corrupt, or chaotic, the emotional tone fuses with the individual's identity in the collective mind. Whether one agrees or not becomes secondary to the emotional charge that now dictates perception. This is how public consensus is sculpted, through emotion repeated until it masquerades as fact. The human brain has a built-in hierarchy: emotion first, logic second. When fear, disgust, or moral outrage is activated, the amygdala floods the body with chemical urgency. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for reason and discernment, is sidelined. This is the neurological foundation of emotional hijacking. Media architects know this well. They employ framing and deciding how a story is told, priming and deciding what emotions are activated before a story is told. Once the emotional environment is set, the mind absorbs content without the filter of critical thought. The result is a society trained not to think, but to feel on command. Self-identity emerges through layered perceptions of mind and consciousness. Yet these layers are subtly rewired by the limbic responses and emotional cues embedded in the information we encounter. When enough people are exposed to the information, populations can be swayed, divided, and mobilized through carefully engineered emotional pulses. Throughout history, this is how tyrants rise and freedoms vanish, not because people are evil or foolish, but because the human brain, left unguarded, is easily seduced by the rhythm of fear. Digital platforms have become the rhythmic pulse or metronome of modern cognition. Their algorithms exploit the brain's reward systems, feeding it novelty, outrage, and affirmation. Each like, share, or outrage loop releases dopamine, a neurochemical reward that conditions behavior. The more emotionally charged the content, the further and faster it travels. This is algorithmic entrainment, a collective synchronization of neural states. Perceptual loops emerge, reinforcing belief through repetition and the exclusion of disagreement. Confronted with contradiction, the brain experiences cognitive dissonance and retreats deeper into the safety of the tribe, the familiar, and the commonality of the group mind. At this point, ideology merges with identity, and the ability to entertain opposing thoughts disbands. Traditional propaganda is designed to convince, but neuropolitical strategy seeks to condition. It no longer asks for agreement. It reshapes the architecture of perception so that certain ideas feel natural, while others feel impossible. Emotional repetition establishes neural shortcuts that simplify complex realities into binary, dual narratives. Hero or villain, us or them, truth or lie. The tragedy of this simplification is the erosion of cognitive flexibility, the very essence of an intelligent society. When people can no longer hold tension between conflicting ideas, this reduces the subtle but necessary differences that die, taking with it the capacity for true fairness. When emotions dominate the minds, natural impulse to question or to become curious, then common sense becomes a leaf in the wind. A society conditioned to respond reflexively to suggestion becomes fertile ground for manipulation. Individuals lose confidence in their own discernment and begin to rely on external authority, media, government, or social consensus, for what to believe and how to behave. This was evident during the years of the pandemic, as surrender became the natural way of life for many, as the limbic system was constantly stimulated and survival driven at all cost. This became the focused objective. History offers countless reminders of how fear-based adherence paves the way for authoritarian control. From inquisitions to modern media wars, the method remains unchanged. Provoke fear, sustain repetition, and promise safety in exchange for obedience. When a population's minds are overrun by orchestrated narratives, they unknowingly surrender their sovereignty. Tyranny doesn't always arrive through force. It often enters softly, disguised as information. To counter this hijacking, the mind must reclaim its sovereignty. Mindfulness and breathwork calm the limbic system, allowing thought to re-engage before reaction. Neurofeedback, meditation, and contemplative practices train awareness of emotional triggers and pattern recognition. Critical media literacy cultivates discernment, teaching us to question the frame rather than react to it. Embodied practices such as qigong or conscious movement reconnect the nervous system to intuition, grounding awareness in the body instead of the algorithm. The liberation of perception begins when we understand that narratives live inside the nervous system. We must also be reminded that the body keeps score, manifesting mental and physical health issues often as a result of stored data that may cause erosion and decline if left unresolved or unreleased. Awareness itself becomes a neurological act of rebellion. The political arena of our times is not defined by policy debates or party lines. It is defined by neurological control of attention and emotion. The danger lies not in a single ideology, but in our collective unawareness of how perception is manufactured. Yet the opportunity lies in the same place. When individuals awaken to this manipulation, they regain the ability to think, feel, and choose beyond the imposed story. To see through the narrative is not cynicism, it is clarity. It is the act of remembering that the most sacred form of freedom begins in the mind.